Good morning, and welcome to Unfiltered Vision News. Well, good morning, and welcome to Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday. Thank you guys so much for joining me this morning. Let's get started with our mantra, how to honor God with our bodies. So, God, please guard our mind and our thoughts. God, help me to fix my thoughts on what is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable. So I will think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise. God, help me to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. God, please protect my eyes from sins and damage. God, I make a covenant with my eyes not to look lustfully. God, please speak life over my mouth. God, set a guard over my mouth. Lord, keep watch over the doors of my lips. God, please help our hands to serve generously. God, help me to do good to everyone, and especially to those who belong to our family in the faith. God, please protect our reproductive organs and help us to honor you, God, with purity. God, help me to honor you with my body. And God, please protect our feet as we walk along your path. God, let your word be a lamp for my feet and a light on my path. And again, thank you guys so much for joining me here this morning. You could be anywhere else this early in the morning, but you are here. Just wanted to check my audio real quick. Okay, everything looks good. So let's get into it. There has been a lot of news, obviously, over the weekend. So we're just going to touch on a few topics and items. We're going to get started with All Sides, which is a news aggregate, and they tell the news from left, right, and center, in my opinion, in a better non-biased way. I know there's like grind news that's out there and a few others, but I really appreciate All Sides because, the skin in the game on this one is your personal investment. So you have to be personally invested with All Sides. It's not a situation where I can just be an affiliate, right? Even though I have invested into All Sides and I can share my link so you too could become a partner with All Sides. So they're talking about the second New World screwworm, and that's a case found in Texas, raises concerns for livestock. So the Department of Agriculture officials have confirmed a second case of New World screwworm in Texas, just days after the first U.S. cattle detection from a natural incursion since 1982, right? And so I was looking at a news article on it. So far, they think they've got it contained, but we will see. Now, another bit of news, a judge has blocked the Trump administration and Asylum policies orders processing to resume. Okay, okay, goodness. And then from the left, it says, this is the title from the left. Federal judge strikes down Trump admin limits on asylum and immigration applications. Here's the deal. You cannot force, well, you shouldn't be able to force as a judge how the United States government functions. That's not your job. Okay. You can't say, you need to start processing these asylum seekers. No, we don't. We don't have to have any asylum seekers. We don't have to have any refugees. We don't have to have any immigrants, period. We don't have to have immigration, period. Like we could shut it down tomorrow and be like, we're closed forever. Okay. And the people that are here are here. And if you are not here legally, we can kick you out and you can't come back. We're not issuing visas. You can't come here. We could totally do that. I need to let people understand we could do that. We already have Chip Roy, who actually put in place a piece of legislation. It didn't go to the floor for a vote. It went to committee. So I'm really hoping it didn't go to committee to kind of, fall off the wayside. But he wanted to basically, what a lot of people have been talking about, shut the border down for a limited time so we can catch up to where we are. And this is crazy. And even that headline from the right, it says Obama appointed judge blocks Trump from halting immigration from high risk countries. So they're saying, hey, you can't stop asylum seekers from coming over here. Yes, he can, because asylum and refugees, those are statuses granted by the president of the United States, who's in charge of the border. What are we doing? Wild, wild. So the Senate has passed the $70 billion immigration enforcement package. This was a very sticking point by funding ICE and CBP. We're going to get into that a little bit later. And then, of course, the California vote count is it delayed for accuracy or fraud? What I find fascinating, we're going to get into that too, is the fact that the votes that have come in have really only come in for one candidate. So you're saying hundreds of thousands of mail-in ballots only came in for one candidate? No, they didn't vote down ballot. They didn't vote for the governor's race. They didn't vote for anything else. Just one candidate. I find it odd and awkward that only one can, like, the incumbent didn't get any other votes. None. Not even 5. Not even 100. The incumbent. The whole thing needs an audit. California needs an audit. Hey, Spud, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining me here on Unfiltered Vision News. There needs to be a massive audit of California. It is a completely failed state. Like, I don't know if we have any rules in our Constitution where we're like, okay, enough, right? The tyranny is too much. You have overburdened the people. You're out of line as far as your agreement to be a part of the United States. Enough. Arrest everybody. Arrest every single politician up and down the coast. I don't care if they're Democrat or Republican. Everybody needs to go to prison. Everybody needs to be investigated, period. Because this is too much. It's too much. In India, they do their elections in one day. India. They have billions of people. We don't even have a billion people here in the entire United States. And it takes California over 30 days to count ballots. Something's wrong with y'all. Something's wrong. Obviously, nobody taught you how to stay in the lines when you learned to color in kindergarten, because this is a mess. Okay. Pardon January 6th rioter takes Pentagon position. Yeah, that happened. Everybody's upset about it. Look, be upset. Crash out if you need to. I have better things to do. Let's get to X. So here are 3 topics that have come out. So defeated Carrollton mayoral candidate dismisses veterans and veterans sacrifices in a viral video. I'm not shocked. I'm really not. People have their feelings, right? And then a teen brawl shuts down Columbus Church Fun Fest early. Not shocked. And then a live streamer, Chud the Builder, claims jail denies him physical Bible. Okay. Which is weird, because they allow everybody else to have their books. So what are we doing? What's going on? Very interesting, but at the same time, extremely odd. So let's get to the mayoral race in Los Angeles and get caught up on what's happening.
The race for LA Mayor, I know you've spent the past week covering it over there. Let's talk about Spencer Pratt. His once comfortable lead, it's been slashed yet again. We've just seen these fresh ballots, which have delivered another boost to progressive Nithya Raman. Where does this leave the race now and Pratt's chances?
Well, I think he's done. You know, if you looked at how the votes fell on election day, it was around 38% for the incumbent Karen Bass, who is frankly useless. So that is a really impressive Democrat get out the vote operation and machine to get her that. And Spencer was on around 25, 26, 27%. It bounced around, and then there was a long way between her and the third place socialist candidate. And as those results have come in, you know, what we've seen, the graphs are astonishing. Essentially, Karen Bass has remained completely static. Spencer Pratt's gone up a tiny bit, but this third place outsider is absolutely coining it in the votes that are cast after, votes that are counted after election day. So something weird is going on, frankly. I'm never one for big conspiracy theorists, but an explanation is needed to explain why. Now, look, you can make the argument that actually Democrat areas tend to vote later. You know, they're more urban. They're more urban sort of voting blocks, so it takes longer to count. There's more voters, and so naturally the Democrat vote would go up and up and up later on as the later votes, so the urban votes are counted. And if you look at the political map of LA, like areas around LA, you know, more Republican, the outer areas, and it's the city center that is more Democrat. That would make sense if Karen Bass's numbers were going up as well. But it just so happened that the graph started going up for the third place candidate just when she had already conceded. She was giving a speech in tears on election day saying she'd fallen short. And then lo and behold, up it comes. Now, the Californians say we count every vote in California. But it's been really interesting to see in America is actually a lot of people who are very dismissive of any mention of election fraud or the fact that it's even possible for this to happen, you know, and now openly question. You've got moderate Democrats who were backing Spencer Pratt, who are saying, "Huh, wait, this thing's real. This is, you know, it does not bear, you know, it's just some questions need to be asked because the graphs look at totally illogical."
Now, I hear where he's coming from, but guess what? California has a law, SB 73. You can't ask. You cannot question the electors. You can't question them. If you, as a citizen, say, "Hey, I think something's going on here. You know, I think, you know, you need to investigate it." You can't question them. It's against the law. Yeah, that's a thing. How did we get here? You know what? We got here with sixth place ribbons. That's how we got here. Because a lot of these people now work in positions that really affect our lives. Yeah. Here's the thing. You know, I don't always agree with the Ricky Bobby stance, but if you're not first, you're last. I'm just saying. First, second, or third. That's it. There's no sixth place ribbons. There's no participation ribbons. No, you lost. And if you lost, cool. Figure it out for next time. But this is how we got it. I'm just saying. It's a slippery slope. Now, I wanted to show a really, I'm not going to play the whole video from Benny Johnson, but he's got the same thought pattern as the first gentleman. He was like, okay, I can understand if Karen, if it's a Democratic, I'm saying, votes coming in late, why aren't any of them going to Karen Bass when she's in the lead? That doesn't make sense that they're all going to come in for just one person. Not 5 of them are coming in for Spencer Pratt. Like none of them. This is why people are upset. This is why people don't want to vote. And this is why people are disgusted and tired. It's crazy.
Bass for the mayorship of LA. Nobody even knew her name. It's Nikki Raman. That's not even how you pronounce it, but I refuse to learn because she's so irrelevant. She polled in the single digits. She bombed at the debate. She's a socialist. She wasn't born in California. She wasn't even born in America. She went to an elitist East Coast school. And her biggest claim to fame was that she hired paid actors and actresses to hold her signs behind her at a rally because she had such little support. She lost on election night. This is her sobbing on election night because she lost in a statistically insurmountable blowout. She wept and cried. Listen to her babbling and blubbering. She's literally shaking. Look at her hand.
Los Angeles is the most magical city in the entire world.
Okay, great. Good luck in the homeless encampments that you will now live in because you're out of a job, obviously, because on election day, mail-in voting showed that you were getting beat by Spencer Pratt. Mail-ins arriving before election day. Raman was getting 20%. Bass was getting 38%. Spencer Pratt, and Republicans don't like mailing in their votes, but he was getting 27%. So this is a trend that obviously has held. Los Angeles votes counted on election day. Look at this. The last one was mail-in votes. Here's Spencer Pratt got 30%. Karen Bass got 34%. I don't think anybody's arguing that Karen Bass didn't get slightly more votes than Spencer Pratt. She's the incumbent, after all, in a Democrat city where Democrats outnumber Republicans 5-1. But Spencer Pratt blew out Nikki Raman. And I want to talk to you about the law of averages. The law of averages states that the frequency of a certain event will eventually even out and align with underlying probability over a period of time, meaning that even if you kept counting the votes, given the fact that this
trend
statistical breakdown represented hundreds of thousands of votes, the majority of votes were counted there on election day, you would expect that maybe there'd be some slight fluctuations, but that these averages would just remain. And Nikki Raman would, of course, lose. And that's why she was crying on election day, because she saw how badly she lost. But it turns out something's magical in California. It is magical. Nikki Raman's correct. Votes counted since election day. Nikki Raman did 40%, actually beating out Karen Bass, the incumbent Democrat. She did twice as much as Spencer Pratt. This is not normal stuff at all. This defies the laws of averages. This defies statistical probability. Mail-ins arriving after election day. Nikki Raman does nearly 40% of the mail-in, a 17% surge in mail-ins after election day. Bass is 34%. Pratt is down 9%, only 19. So wait a second. This is something that not only does it not make sense for any human being that's just watching this, whether you care about campaign semantics. She couldn't get anybody at her parties. Nobody was supporting her. She had no support at all. Nobody knew her name. Nobody cared. Nobody voted for her on election day. She lost landslides. She was crying and blubbering. But also, it's statistically unfathomable because it's never happened in history before. ChatGPT can't find a single example of a third-place candidate surging after election day to overtake the second place. It couldn't find one example in all of American history. That's what's happening right now with Nikki Raman and Spencer Pratt. Los Angeles is a third world hellscape. Look at this chat.
Okay. So I've got that video for you, right? Now, what I wanted to show you was a video by Benny Johnson. Let me get it all queued up here. Let's check this out. Oops. Oh, man. Hold on. I got to turn on this volume. There we go.
Yo, what's up, guys? We're outside of a very important place here in California. you'll see it's just home to a porta-john and a giant empty parking lot. But inside of this empty parking lot is something really important in the state of California. As you can see here, we have registered voters. 26 registered voters for this exact location, 100 Sunset Avenue in Venice. 26 registered voters. Right here, according to the registrar and the Secretary of State. 26 people registered to a porta-john and an empty parking lot. Where do their ballots go exactly? So who's picking up the ballots? Who's voting for the people in this lovely porta-john empty lot? That's the question. I think you know the answer.
Now.
So for me, if you're younger than 35, don't tell me about preventative skincare.
Sorry, guys. So with that, and with the video that I just played, now you can understand why people are questioning the voting in California, and not just in California, a lot of different places, because there are a lot of places not cleaning their voter rolls. This is clearly egregious fraud. I mean, really? Are you kidding me right now? How in the world are 26 people registered to an empty lot? And the registrar of the state signed off on it. And then they'll say, well, California's so big and we just, yes, you do. You know if a house is somewhere or not and how many people are registered to that house. You know why? Because all of these cities and counties, they have to report physical dwellings that people are in. You cannot just say, hey, I live over here. It's like there's not a house there. There's not even a trailer there. At least give me a trailer with something. There weren't even any humans there. What are you doing? So 26 times that by 10,000. Now you see how fraud is happening. That's the problem with California right now. And the state registrar is going to have to answer for all of this, because what if that's not the only address? That's just one. That's just one. All right, so let's get to our next little bit of news. Apparently, the teen takeovers are not just in California, in Illinois, where it's become an issue. They're also in Florida. Crazy.
Police along the St. Augustine Beach Pier today after police canceled a takeover event that was planned for this afternoon.
It had not been permitted. We've seen a recent rise in takeovers in the area, and some, as you know, have turned violent. News4Jax reporter Brianna Brownlee joins us live in St. Augustine Beach. And Bree, the goal is to keep the community safe.
Yes, guys, and thanks to social media, the St. Augustine Beach Police say that they were able to put a stop to this event before it even happened. Now, like you mentioned, it was expected to happen this afternoon at 2 o'clock at the pier here on St. Augustine Beach. Now, since we've been out here this morning, photojournalist Jesse Hansen and I have been speaking with some people, and they were telling us that they found out about all of this because of News4Jax's coverage. Now, when I told them that it was canceled, this was their reaction.
Canceled? Is it canceled?
Yes, canceled. They canceled it.
How did they cancel it?
They called it. They called it on social media, so they canceled it.
But it's a gathering of people with free minds who are not going to pay attention to someone saying your event is canceled. It was never really official anyway, registered with anybody. So I think people will show up.
I only live a few blocks away, and I might be curious, but I would sort of keep my distance. And there are a few safe places that one could get to if they needed to avoid what might be taking place.
So, of course, these teen takeovers seem to be a trend in our area recently. In Duval County, a couple of months ago, a flash mob at the Avenues Mall and a large gathering at Blue Cypress Park both required a major police response, with officers breaking up fights and dispersing large groups of teens. Now, police say those incidents have raised awareness and led to increased coordination between agencies when similar events are identified online. Now, meanwhile, Attorney General James Uthmeyer posted on X saying, quote, "Whoever is organizing these teen takeovers, congrats, you have my attention," and adding that statewide prosecutors are developing a plan to investigate and possibly prosecute those responsible.
That kind of thing I leave to the people, you know, that we elect, because it's a judgment call, how much someone is responsible for what other people do.
There are free speech issues, and certainly people can gather to speak for a particular issue, but not for the violence that usually comes with these kinds of events.
Now, we also did see some patrolmen out here and some officers, and when we were speaking with them, they did say that they do have a plan in place today if something does happen. So, of course, News4 Jax will continue to track this and bring you updates as they come in. Reporting live.
St. Augustine, Florida. Interesting, because it is a very prominent upscale area. So we'll have to see what happens there. Now, I wanted to backtrack just a little bit for you guys, because there's actually a case before the Supreme Court regarding the whole mail-in ballot thing. So I asked about the Mississippi mail-in voting. Will it affect states like California? It says yes. The Mississippi case, Watson versus Republican National Committee, could directly affect states like California by invalidating grace periods for counting late arrival mail-in ballots in federal elections. So basically, if they don't get the ballots in by election night, by midnight, that's it. That's the cutoff. So anything that comes in after that is completely invalid. But what could happen, right? This is what could happen, in my opinion. Let's just say they get the votes. Everything's cut off. Good. They could say, well, we only got votes for this many people or that many people. You know what I mean? It's like the amount of fraud and cheating going on. It's like, really? This is where we are? There's just a lack of respect for the freedoms that we have in this country in voting. In my opinion, if you can't do your job, you got to go. I'm not sure how the Secretary of State is still the Secretary of State in California and not in prison. I'm just saying something's got to give. Something has got to give. Now, last week, I did follow up with you guys regarding the funding bill that happened, and it was voted upon. So initially, it didn't pass, and then it did pass. So let's get into that.
Mr. President.
Senator from South Carolina.
Almost 19 hours later, we're actually going to talk about the bill and what's in it. There's $69.5 billion that this amendment covers, $38.6 billion for ICE to train, equip, support ICE, $108.5 million allocated for child exploitation investigations, $22.6 billion for the Border Patrol to hire, pay, train, equip personnel, $3.5 billion for improvements to border security, $5 billion to help DHS through 2029. What we're about to do is fund the Border Patrol and ICE through the entire Trump term, because you wouldn't help us. America will be safer. I ask for adoption of this amendment.
And he got it, and it passed. And we'll get more into it tomorrow, but I do have the links in it today so you guys can look at that. But yeah, tomorrow we'll take a little bit of a deeper dive because there's some other things I need to get to. So apparently Vivek Ramaswamy made a statement, and where is that video? Let me go pull it up really quick. Very interesting. Like, why did you say something like this? Like, what is really going on with you? But he said this. I think it's really awkward.
That came out of my dialogue with her was that actually a black baby is probably safer in the interstate of Chicago, than in the womb of his own black mother. And I think that that's actually a problem, and it's directly the product of what Margaret Sanger envisioned.
Yeah, he said that. Now, here's my thing with it. If we're 13% of the population, but we're like 80% of the abortions, how are we not extinct? How are we not unicorns? The math isn't, as some would like to say, mathe. So somebody's lying. But to juxtapose that someone would be safer on the streets of Chicago than in the womb of a Black mother, you are going to have to answer for this. You are running for the governorship of Ohio. I don't understand his reasoning, but I understand why he's failed at politics. You bought your way in. You bought your way in. But yeah, I don't know how many people are going to want to vote for that. I wouldn't vote for it. That's my opinion. Now, this last bit, and Spud says, we don't die, we multiply. Apparently, in such massive numbers that we were consistently at 13%. We never go up or down. We're just always at 13%. But we're like, what? Over 50% of the prison population? But we're not unicorns. I'm just saying. It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird. The last bit of topic that I wanted to get to was the United States Conference of Mayors.
Things about being a mayor is participating and engaging with the U.S. Conference of Mayors. And obviously the two primary places to do that is the winter meeting and the annual meeting in June.
This is the place you come to get great ideas and to get wonderful collaborators. I am so grateful to be able to call dozens of mayors around the country my friends now.
We're able to network with each other. We're able to work together on issues. It is a support group for mayors.
I've always attended because I learned so much about what's going on across the nation, whether it's tariffs, whether it's artificial intelligence, whether it's dealing with the economic forecast, or just simply how to talk to our voters with ever-changing attitudes. The Conference of Mayors is always on the forward-leaning, cutting edge of those issues, and it's where you can get the best information.
I immediately saw the value in the connections you can make with other mayors and sharing best practices. I saw connections you can make with businesses to help fund projects.
It is such a relief every time I come to a U.S. conference meeting. It's connecting with friends from all over the country. And for me, it really helps. It's a space where I can get out.
Okay, for the sake of time, let's get to it. So they're all happy that they're together. We get it. Okay. Now, what I want to get into is the United States Conference of Mayors, right? And it represents, it's nonpartisan. It represents over 30,000 or more, populations of 30,000 or more. So 1,400 to 1,500 such cities today. So it's not all mayors. It's only the ones with the populations of 30,000 or more. So if you have a population of like, what, 2,500, you're probably not at this meeting. Unless you want to get invited. I don't know. Maybe you can ask if you can get in there. So the conference was born during the Great Depression. So in 1932, now this was after Jekyll Island, Detroit Mayor Frank Murphy invited fellow mayors to Detroit to address the severe economic crisis affecting cities, mass unemployment, blah, blah, blah. This led to the passage of legislation creating $300 million federal funding assistance for cities, the first direct federal relief of its kind. Now, I don't know if it's continual or not. Now, the initial meeting galvanized the group in early 1933 under FDR. They formalized the organization by signing its charter at the Mayflower Hotel in Washington, D.C. Okay, so how it supported membership dues, mayor's business council partnerships, grant sponsorships, and awards. It receives funding from foundations, sponsors, events, awards, over $1 million in grants annually for city initiatives, and collaborates on programs. So revenue from events, publications, and affiliate organizations help sustain operations. That's vague. Like who's fund? Like, again, the funding for this. It's kind of crazy. Now I said, is it nonpartisan? Yes. United States of America is nonpartisan, which is good. So Democrats and Republicans participate in this. So they can't point fingers and saying, oh, it's just this party, it's just that party. They're all there, even independents, I'm sure. Now I said, is the United Nations involved in any way in regards to the initiatives, right? Not just a part of it, but the initiatives, the things that they want these mayors to carry out. Yes, the United States Conference of Mayors has some involvement with the United Nations initiatives, though it is indirect and limited rather than a formal institutional program. I've been talking about this for a long time. People are like, what are you talking about? Well, I just had to bring it up because they're there this month. So these conferences, COP meetings such as COP 26 in Glasgow and COP 27 in Egypt and COP 28 in Dubai. It's not 2028 now. Why are you talking about 28? But they were there. They did this. Okay. So there's Global Covenant of Mayors for Climate Energy. How are, okay. Anyway, so the U.S. cities represented in major UN-linked initiatives, right? Originally tied to the Compact of Mayors. So there's all these different interworkings within this group. So it's not just like, oh, we're just here to get great ideas. No, you're there to discuss other things that you're initiating on the ground to circumvent the freedom of the people, period. That's where I'm saying. That's where I'm at. Okay. Who voted for this? Anybody vote for this? I didn't vote for this. See, I want to vote against it. I'll be like, there should be no initiatives carried out by the United Nations anywhere in the United States because nobody voted for this. But this is what they've done. They've infiltrated at the local level because they know that is where the money is. They know it. And that's how they are basically putting their claws into the United States in an outward way. So the nature of involvement, what I wanted to get to and show is here. The USCM mayors and the organization engaged in broader initial mayoral networks, right, that interact with UN bodies like UN Habitat, UNDESA, and forums on sustainable development goals, SDGs, migration, and urban issues. Now, when they talk about migration, they're not talking about legal immigration. They're just talking about people that just come over here illegally. They are talking about that because if you go to their sustainable development goals, they also talk about replacement migration. And people need to understand this. This is not a conspiracy theory. These are no longer lies. This is what they are doing. This is what they are doing. So if your mayor is involved in this, just understand they are working with the United Nations against you. Look at the policies, and you need to put your foot on their neck and say, we will not accept these policies. You will not initiate this. You will not take blood money or take money to work against us. These data centers, in my opinion, they are not an accident. And we're going to find out that a lot of these initiatives, yeah, Elon Musk, I'm talking to you, came through some of these sustainable development goals. Yeah. It's bad, but we'll see. But that is our show for today, our broadcast, I should say, for today. We'll be back tomorrow with Tell It All Tuesday, where we're going to get into the bill that was just passed. They call it the Secure America Act. And let's just really see, are they going to get to the SAFE Act? Is it going to be a thing, or is it just going to be tabled? I mean, Senate, come on, do your job. Everybody's behind this. But thank you guys again for joining me here on Unfiltered Vision News. And we will see you guys tomorrow. And remember, stay well, stay focused, and stay unfiltered. We'll see you in the next one.